What piece of the embrace struggle advice do you secretly think is terrible?
Like, oh, it's okay if you're having a challenge. Just face it, it'll all work out. No, it flippin' sucks.
What if I don't want to embrace the struggle? It's hard. I don't want to embrace it.
Hello, welcome to the Beyond the Questions podcast, because every great conversation starts with a question. We're having real conversations about life with life coaches, and we are anticipating another great episode. So get ready and let's get started. All right. Hey, so what piece of the embrace struggle advice do you secretly think is terrible? Like bad, horrible stuff?
I don't want to do it.
I think I've shared this before on the podcast, but like I absolutely hate when God closes the door to open a window, or anytime somebody decides to say Jeremiah 29:11 and they're like, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Those people lived in slavery for a long time, and he told them to get used to it and invest in their city. So sorry, little feisty, brings up some trauma, but let's just stop taking Bible verses out of context.
Yeah. Bad advice also comes when you don't listen fully to what's being said and you just kind of throw it out there. I think a lot of those cliches that you just said, Jason, come out when that happens. So anyhow, and Ericka, did you say, don't do it?
No, I don't embrace the struggle. What if I don't want to embrace the struggle? It's hard. I don't want to embrace it.
Hey, you guys want a fun piece of information before we dive into TQ's big question?
Yeah,
Tell
we
us.
do.
You do? Do you? I went to a barber shop this week. I'll just let that sink. For those of you who only watch, there is absolutely zero follicles of hair on my head. So it was amazing.
Even if we squint?
Even if you squint, there's not much though. So it does grow a little bit. So I had a straight shave with a hot towel and the massager and some nice butter. I think it was some kind of body butter or something on my head afterwards. It was shiny. It's living my best life.
The best part about this, I don't know if you're joking or if you're serious.
I think he's serious.
I am dead serious. The best part, okay, so here's the best part. So it's me and a buddy who looks just like me, very pale complected, very white, very bald. And we went into an African-American barbershop, and we may have been the only two people who were very bald and very pale in there, but it was awesome. So I have a buddy who's a barber, and he's like, yeah, come up, I'll shave your head. Amazing. Highly recommend it. If you're bald and listen to our podcast, go get your head shaved.
I'll tell all my bald friends.
Tell all your bald friends. Tell all your bald friends. Even bald guys need pampering. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, with all of that, welcome to Beyond the Questions. We dive into these questions. We're learning out loud, obviously. And I'm your host, TQ. I'm with Ericka and Jason. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, we're going to dive in with we've already been pretty light, but a light question, okay? Because our question of the day is, let me read it. How do we learn to embrace challenges? Okay, so that's where we're headed today. But I want to ask you guys, when you were a kid, did you hold on to something that you probably should have let go of for too long? You know, maybe a binky or a blanket or stuffed animal or something like that. Or on the flip side, is there something that you wish you had held on to, that you let go of? I don't know, old letters, something you made, some pricey collector's item, you name it. So did you hold on to something too long, or did you let go of something you wish you still had?
This is as a kid, we're supposed to remember.
I mean, if it wasn't special to you, then obviously
Tell me you're a bunch
not.
of Gen X people hosting a podcast without telling me you're a bunch of Gen X people hosting a podcast. Am I supposed to remember when I'm a kid?
I had a bear. I believe its name was Dodie, and my mom had patched up the ear. It was pretty worn out. I don't know how long, and I held on to it a long time. Part of me feels like it disappeared, and so some of me still miss Dodie, but that's what I had, a bear.
Okay, hold on. Where did the name Dodie come from?
Man, look, I've got a silent Q in my name, so where the name came from, I don't know. It was named Dodie. We had a dog named Mutsy. I'm telling you, names, they just kind of happen.
Okay.
Great
I love
question,
that you led
though.
with I have a silent Q in my name. So if my mom is listening to the podcast, she would tell you that I keep nothing and I throw everything away. And she tells you that I have zero sentimental bone in my body, which is probably true. Also influenced by the fact that we move every 5 years. But when I was a kid, my dad got me a stuffed beaver. And I mean, he was like this big. It was not big. And I was super creative. So Beaver's name was Beef. That's what I call it. So it's almost as good as Dodie. And Beef went with me a lot of places because I could sneak him in and nobody knew I had him. So nobody would make fun of me because he was like this big. So yeah.
Nice.
So he definitely did not have eyes when he was done. His like string nose and mouth were gone. And there was like almost a spot rubbed where the stuffing disappeared. I also, TQ, don't know what happened to Beef. And so I'm pretty sure my mom at some point was like, this thing's got to go. And he disappeared and never came back.
There you go. Awesome.
Have I told you guys the story about how so my parents were dating, my dad bought us trolls? Have I told
Like
you
the
guys
troll
that?
dolls with the spiky hair?
Yes, but these were the old school trolls. Like they were just the little plasticky hard body. They all had hair straight up and then they all had a jewel in their belly button. So as like we'd go visit him and every time like these trolls would get fancier and fancier, you know, and like eventually then they had the jewel in their belly button. And so I told my dad when I was 18, you know, Dad, the reason why I want to get my belly button pierced is because you bought me that troll long time ago. And I do wish I still had those trolls. I don't know what happened to them either, but it'd be great.
What color was your troll's hair?
I specifically remember the one with pink hair, but that's probably because that's my favorite color. But they dated for a little while and he lived in LA, and where my mom lived, I guess you could kind of call it central-ish California. And so we'd drive down there to visit and he'd always like place them on the stairs. It was always this fun game, but I was like, I wish I'd had those. They don't make those trolls like that anymore.
Challenge accepted. Next week, I'll have troll hair.
Yes. Can you dye it pink, please?
I'm going to buy it pink. What are you talking about dyeing it?
That sounds awesome. Well, obviously we hold on to some things, but what we're talking about here is challenges, which people don't really want to do that very much. But before we dive in, I want to give ourselves a little bit of chance for you to hear in the audience who we are. And Jason, if you don't mind introducing yourself and how you spend your time, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so my name is Jason Roten. I am the founder of Jason Roten Coaching, and I love to help leaders lead from the inside out, understanding what's happening inside them, inside their emotions, their thought processes, so that when they show up in a room, they show up as the person they want to be, as opposed to we all plan how this hard conversation is going to go, where we plan how we're going to lead this thing, and then something happens, often we say triggers us, and we respond differently than we want. So I want to help them build habits and processes that help them understand what's happening inside themselves so they lead well.
It's awesome. Thanks, Jason. Ericka.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. So I help women who have been through or are going through trauma, relationship challenges, or just really hard life struggles. I create that space to be there with them, to walk alongside them as they go through that season. And it is a beautiful time and day when they no longer need me.
That's awesome. That'd be great. That's a great thing. Be able to release them like that. That's cool. I'm TQ, owner of TQ Coaching Solutions, and really let's believe that everybody has something to offer to the world, and many people are stopped because of fear and self-doubt and inaction. And my goal is to help them get that out there. And so I spend time doing that. So we're all coaches. We love to help folks and we love to talk about questions. So that's why we are here. All right. So let me start with this. Tell us about a real challenge, since we're talking about embracing these challenges, or how do we learn to embrace challenges? Tell us about a real challenge you initially avoided and ran from, and not the polished version, like what happened? While they're thinking, I'll go first. So I think I've mentioned this in the podcast before, but when my wife and I were dating, I don't know if I mentioned this or not. I'll just go ahead and say it. But when my wife and I were dating, her folks had a hard time with our dating. We were a mixed couple, and that was tough. And so we went through our years of college, spent 5 years in college and so forth, decided to get married. And when we did that, we did not know how they would respond. Okay. And so we made the call to tell them, hey, we're going to get married, knowing that they did not like that idea. And when we made that phone call, we were just expecting, a lot of yelling and sadness and crying and tears. It's not what we got. They just basically said, okay, fine. That's what you guys want to do. We want to help. Went into the plans. And then we kind of went from fully against to let us help you, which was like whiplash for me. Okay. So we get married, and I'm skipping lots of the story. If y'all ever want to know more about the story, DM me or whatever, and I'll hook you up. So I'm giving you cliff notes here. So we get married, and I never feel like we have a conversation about why the big change. Like, what happened? But the boat had been rocky enough that I'm like, we're not fighting. We're not yelling. I don't know. I want to rock the boat, try to figure this thing out. Years go by, and we seem to be doing okay, but I've always got this awkward, what do I do? And so I eventually spoke to my father-in-law, my mother-in-law at different times, really just to say, what happened? What went on? And so anyway, those conversations went well. It had a lot to do with fear, if you're wondering what on the other end. But the point is, because I didn't want to rock the boat, man, I just kind of, I really avoided that. And I'm talking for a while. Some people would say, oh, I get it, Twan. But there's a part of me that goes, man, if I'd done that sooner, maybe we could have gotten closer sooner. We're good. But anyway, that's something I avoided. That was a challenge for me.
I can stick with the in-law theme. So first of all, I want to say I love my in-laws. So if they're listening, this is not a judgment, but my wife and we've moved twice in our marriage. Well, we moved a lot in our marriage, but twice away from in-laws. So when we first got married, we moved to St. Louis, which was 6.5 hours away. My wife lived at home while she went to college. And I had a part-time job with the denomination and a part-time job with a church as a youth pastor. And so they're like, oh, you guys are going to live here, right? I'm like, no. So we left for St. Louis, and my mother-in-law I was not her favorite person for that move. And in the bigger, you can imagine, we lived 50 minutes away from them in Indiana, and I got an opportunity to go to Minneapolis, 10.5 hours away from them, with their then second grade and 4-year-old grandson. And there was a lot of like, what are you doing to your family? And it was hard, right? Because these are people I respect. They're people who are wise. They're people who have been there. And yet I just really felt like this was the right thing for us to do. And finally, one day, my father-in-law and I were having a conversation in the car. He's like, man, I would need some really clear signs. And I was like, well, here are all the clear signs I've received. And they're like, you'll start in September, right? And I'm like, I'll start January 4th. And they're like, you'll start in September, right? I said, I'll start January 4th. And finally they said September. And I was like, if you want somebody to start in September, I'm not your person. And they're like, January 4th it is. And I was like, okay. And there was another one around salary negotiation. There was another one around getting my master's degree. And every one of those came out in my favor. And my father-in-law was like, okay, I get it now. And I was like, but it was not a fun conversation. It was a challenging time. And I asked for a 75% vote and got 74, still went crazy.
That 0.6%, that's rough.
Yeah, no, 0.1 and it rounds up. It didn't even round up.
Close enough.
Awesome.
TQ for me, I'm going to not go the same route as you two. I think something that was very challenging for me that I don't think I recognized I wasn't facing it was how depressed I was in getting a divorce and accepting it and everything that comes along with that. And I had spent so long believing that my marriage could heal. Years believing that it could heal. And even though I was the one that chose to leave, and I still believe that was the correct choice, after some time, and it's just busy, still raising kids, still doing all the things. It's not like life stuff goes away. I didn't want to face that I was sad about leaving a relationship I chose to leave. So it was really hard to face that within myself and then go through all the emotions, what felt like all over again, knowing I had it's just like very hard to explain. It's like, I made this choice. I know it's the right choice. I still have to grieve this.
Mhm.
I didn't want to do it for a long time.
Yeah. Here's a follow-up question for us and everybody. I mean, we don't necessarily all have to answer, but I'm just throwing it out there. What finally made you lean into having that conversation or dealing with it?
Know if it would be true in those two situations exactly, but I think oftentimes that's weird to say. I think I normally run towards, I think I like to say that I run towards challenge or conflict, like I'm not afraid to do hard things. But I think sometimes the truth is when the tension becomes more than you can bear, you have to change something, right? So when you feel the stretch, when you feel the pull, when you feel the like, oh, what's happening, and you can't sustain it anymore, then I'm either going to run away from it and forget about it, or I'm going to run into it and fix it. And so I think that inner tension for me is probably the driving factor most of the time, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not one who likes to run into those challenges, but for me in my story, the tension was, I didn't know, and I had to figure out what happened here, So outside looking at us, we were fine and we were connecting and whatnot. But inside, there was in the back of my mind of, I still don't know if I'm just here as the husband to their daughter, or are we good, And I lean into that. Okay. So as we talk about diving in, what would you say actually has to happen in someone's mind or someone's head to get from avoiding something to choosing it, to really going, yes. And we may have tapped on it a little bit with the tension, and you can dive into that more if you think, or maybe there's some other things too. I know, Jason, you said you feel like you like to head into those challenges. And I know a buddy of mine who he would go through the mental exercise of thinking about really tough things, loss, tough scenarios, and he would run them through his mind enough to feel it so that he would be ready to jump into those challenges. And I was like, you're crazy. I will wait for those things to happen.
I'm not,
what I'm saying?
I'm not practicing them.
But so what do we think goes on in someone's mind to help them go from avoiding it to choosing it, choosing to embrace this challenge?
Ericka, you're quiet today. I'm going to pick on you. What are you thinking?
Well, first I was actually thinking about your friend TQ and you, Jason. You guys have heard about being the lone buffalo, right?
Nope. Never heard about being the lone buffalo.
Another one of Ericka's phrases we've never heard about.
I'm like, you keep asking us these things that we don't know.
Yeah,
I would just go ahead and let me tell you about the buffalo.
Well, for our next podcast, I'm going to have to, because I still have this. I even have my saddle pad for when I was riding has a buffalo on it and like a lightning bolt, because buffaloes face the storm. Instead of turning and running away, a buffalo turns into the storm and walks towards it because that's the fastest way through.
I have a cool picture of a buffalo walking through a snowstorm. It's pretty amazing. It's one of the like motivational things I have saved in my Pinterest.
And it is like, you can see that, you can watch it just like that picture. And so I was thinking about how, Jason, you said you like to like go for that challenge and it drives you. And then your friend TQ, how he like could picture it, and I was thinking about feeling those emotions of having to get to that point to go through. And I was thinking truly, sometimes it's practice. So these hard conversations that we have to go through or do, if we've done it enough times, even on a smaller scale, we realize that even though it's hard, it is better to get that hard and go through that hard. And what if you want to call it, be on the other side or come to the conclusion, or like you said, TQ, you felt like you had wasted all these years that you could have been closer. And so like, it's that picture. And I could think of one time specifically, and this was just with a friend. I had to put some boundaries in. It was super hard. I was super anxious, but I knew that once that was in place, I would feel better. And I did. Doesn't mean the conversation wasn't hard and didn't give me anxiety.
Yeah, I hear that. But as devil's advocate, some would say, well, I don't want to be a stupid buffalo. I want to go find a cluster of rocks to hide in from the storm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, isn't there like a ditch or or if there's a bunch of us, I'm going to be the one in the middle. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, what do you say to that person is like, come on now. I mean, really, do I have to? Is there not a way around this?
I think, really, do you have to? No, you don't have to. I think there's natural consequences of not having to, though.
Please do expound natural consequences.
Please tell me. I don't know what to do with TQ being snarky towards Ericka, nor what's Ericka and I going at each other. No, I'm just going to sit back and watch this one today.
You just threw it out there. There was this nugget. I'm like, oh, natural, what are they? I'm on the edge of my seat here, so let me know.
I mean, one example, right, with the boundaries, I was very anxious. I needed to put these boundaries in place. I knew if I didn't, I would continue living in that anxiety and worry, and I didn't want to feel that anymore. I wanted to be rid of that so I could have peace and safety. I had to have the hard conversation.
I hear that.
Funny thing for the both of you, I've always said this to my sisters, my family, and it reminded me of what you said. I will never let you, get lost or die in a ditch somewhere. I'll come find you. And with that, like, we do need people sometimes, even if it's hard, to point out those things in us that maybe we're not facing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I want to go back to Ericka's statement about practice. I'm not sure I would have chosen that word, but Ericka, I'm going to agree with you. I know that doesn't happen very often on the podcast, right? So we can team up against TQ today. It'll be great.
Let's write it down.
I mean, because when I think about challenges and I think about where I'm at in life today, I'm way more willing to turn and face that storm because I know what it's going to develop in me on the other side. I might not know exactly what it's going to develop in me, but because I've been through storm A, B, C, D, E, storm F isn't so scary because I've survived all this. Because I've got people who still walk beside me in all this. And so I want to be careful because that sounds a little like pie in the sky. Like, oh, it's okay if you're having a challenge. Just face it. It'll all work out. No, it flippin' sucks in the middle of this challenge. I'm not here to say that the middle of that challenge is easy, but man, if you've come through one and you think about the character and the resilience and the fight that you've developed or the depth of relationship that you form with somebody who walked through that storm with you, even in the fear of the unknown of the new storm, there's a willingness to turn and face it. And so I'm not sure I would have called it practice, but you're not wrong in that I've been through it before, so I'm going to go through this one again, and I've got some experience this time.
Yeah. My very real example of that goes back to when my wife and I were dating. And those 5 years of battling with her parents, trying to understand, trying to honor them, just all the things that were so hard with that. What it did was it gave us some significant trials that we could have run away from, and everyone else would have said, oh, I get it. Yeah, that's too much. You don't need that. Okay. Before we were ever married. And when you are able to do that together, it solidified something in us that I don't know that other things could have, because we had to face that together when it would have been very easy to just avoid it, And so we have that. And I can see it now as a blessing for what it did for our relationship. But in the moment, it was just hard. There were tears and there was walks alone in the dark, and there was lots of stuff that I was like, man, how am I ever going to get through this? But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, we gained a ton. So I appreciate you saying that.
At the risk of agreeing with Ericka twice and this just spiraling us down a bad spot, I do think there's and you said it too there, TQ, there is a who's going to go through it with you, right? So when you were in it, it was you and your girlfriend at the time, now wife.
Yep.
Who were in the storm together. And I mean, when I think about funny trials, I think about how fat I used to be and how thankful I am for the people who said, I'll do the hard work with you. I mean, when I was at my biggest, my wife was like $1.05, right? She didn't need to eat healthy, but she's like, sure, I'll eat salmon with you 4 nights a week so you can lose weight. And I'm thankful for that. People who are going through the challenge. It's not easy to be hungry for the first 2 weeks, and you're a little crabby because your blood sugar's low and you're tired of all the things that are happening inside your body, right? But having somebody go through it with you, I avoided saying that because I feel like that's my answer to every question on every podcast. Find a friend. But yeah.
That's all right. You're our community guy. That's all good.
Can I just, TQ, can you remind us how many years you guys have been married?
It'll be 31 on the 19th of August.
And I just as I'm listening to you, I am just over here in awe and appreciation. And I'm thinking like start the next podcast. Both of you, Jason and TQ, like how to successfully have a marriage.
Marry a great wife.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a really short podcast. Marry a great wife.
I'm like, I don't know that I've got a lot of answers for you there. I'm just happy to be where I am.
Yeah, because, by the way, fun fact, TQ and I shared an anniversary. Not same year, but same day.
Yes, which
That's
is
awesome.
pretty wild.
Maybe that's it. We got to get married on that day.
August the 19th. That's the answer. That is the answer right there.
Okay.
Answer.
Circle it.
That's awesome. Okay.
And marry somebody who's
So
okay
tell
with
me-
you being a jackhat. Jackhat was the word. TQ, you're trying to keep
I
us on
heard you.
task.
We're moving on. Okay. So is embrace every challenge actually really good advice? Or when do you think that starts to go, when does it go wrong? You know what I'm saying? Because we started off the whole thing. The assumption is, oh, we need to embrace the challenges. How do we learn to embrace challenges? Which sounds nice and wonderful and, put it in a book, sell 1 million copies. But really? Do we need to embrace every challenge or not?
No.
Okay, I'm done.
No, we don't need to embrace every challenge, or no, it's not good advice.
No, we don't need to embrace every challenge. I think this is going to a skill of learning to say no on one hand. Every challenge is not necessarily a challenge that we're meant to embrace or do. And then what was the first part of the question? I answered
You
the
answered
second.
it. You answered it.
Yeah. The whole question again was, is embrace every challenge actually good advice? And when does that thinking go wrong?
Okay, yes. Ooh, Jason's going to disagree with me.
No, I was just thinking 3 for 3 makes for a really boring episode. I think you don't have to embrace every challenge. I think you can choose challenges to walk away from. You don't have to fight every fight you're invited to. The other thing I'd say is it's really bad. It's even worse advice for somebody who's in the middle of the challenge.
Okay.
Right? When somebody's in the middle of the hard thing and somebody walks up and they're like, oh, just embrace it. Let me tell you what I'm going to embrace. I'm going to embrace you in a chokehold. That's what I'm going to embrace, right? Like maybe it sells 1 million books because we're afraid of challenges. And so in general, we do need to embrace more, but we don't need to tell other people to embrace challenges. We need to come alongside them in the middle of their challenge and say, let me help you get through this. So maybe we all need to read the book so we're not afraid of the challenge. I don't even know what book you're referencing. Probably not a real one, but that's okay. We need to embrace the challenge because I think it's easy to run away, but that's not something we ever need to say to somebody.
Ever? That's a pretty strong word.
I don't think I'd ever use the phrase embrace the challenge.
Okay.
It might sound more like, if you want to face this thing, I'll go in it with you.
Yeah.
And
I
if you
hear that.
choose to run away from it, I'm going to be here too.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Ericka.
With a little bit of fear, and I can tell you guys some shakiness right now. I'm going to tell you a story about this specifically. And first, everyone is okay. This sort of thing happened to me in the middle of my struggle. And this was with my ex. And as what I thought we were both trying to heal, he had read a book about being humble. And I was speaking to him and expressing how he was not being humble. I don't think we were hearing each other, but he wasn't hearing me. And I know this because he could not be with me in my pain. And in this, he took his book on how to be humble, threw it at me. The anger that welled up inside of me was so strong. Mind you, the pain and the anger and that goes along with betrayal is very, very difficult. I turned around And 3 times it was a very tall stand-up mirror. And thank goodness I punched the board that was on the mirror. I punched it 3 times and I walked outside. I did not feel that I had broken my hand of what's called a boxer's fracture because all I could feel was the pain. My point in telling this story is I clearly think somebody needs to hear it because I didn't want to tell it and I'm shaking to even tell it. But he was basically telling me I needed to be humble. I needed to embrace the struggle of my own pain, whereas I needed his support. And clearly there was a mismatch there. So Jason, I think you're correct. When
4
somebody,
for 4.
I don't know, when somebody's in the deepest part or even in their own struggle, whatever it is, embrace the struggle. Yeah, I have some words for that. Like, that's not what they need to hear. All they need to know is that you hear them.
That's all good. So yeah, we definitely, I think anybody who's gone through something and realizes, man, going through it with somebody who's actually there just seems to always be better, you know? And when it's not that way, it's devastating for sure. I've got a slight twist on the question though, and kind of to follow this up, because that idea of embracing the challenge, I mean, that's one that's out there that I feel like I've heard in a lot of different places, and it gets the banner waved and like, yeah, we need to do that, embrace the challenge, which I think has truth to it for all the things that we said already. But have you ever run into someone who they're mistaking their own stubborn will to plow through this challenge for resilience, and it's like hurting them? So there's this challenge that they're facing, and you can see, I'm not so sure that this challenge is good for them to go through, but they're like, dadgummit, I'm embracing challenge. I'm going to get it. I'm all in. And they feel like it's resilience. You know what I'm saying? But you're walking with them and you're going, oh, I don't know if this is really resilience. This really looks like something else. Have you ever seen that? Or if you haven't, or you have, how would you approach that individual?
I'm sure I've seen it. I can't come up with anything. I can't think of a scenario, but
I mean, we can tell people that. I don't think they're going to hear it until they recognize it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this from experience in my own story. And I'm not going to sit here and say things like, oh, I stayed too long, or I didn't know, or like just dumb stuff. But when I look back, or even I read some of my journals of what my friends were telling me, that I disagreed with all of them. I mean, I believed that we could change. I believed that we had made a commitment, that marriage, even though I know the statistics of marriage, I believed we could get through to the detriment of myself. And I will stand here today, tomorrow, yesterday. It was killing me. And if I didn't leave, I would be dead. I'm not saying that to be funny, to be anything. I wanted that. I tried that, all of the things. It was unhealthy.
Yeah.
It was to the detriment of myself. But I couldn't see it until I saw it.
Right. Yeah. I think you bring up a great point in this idea that it was a detriment. And yeah, we definitely have to be able to see it, to be able to decide, okay, I don't need to try to embrace this anymore. This is something I just need to let go and move on. And I think sometimes as we're walking with people, like nobody's going to be able to do something that they don't really see. But sometimes I think what I get to bring as somebody walking along with someone else is a set of fresh eyes that says, hey, I know that you're really going for this thing, but here's the cost that I see. Here's the cost to, your heart. Here's the cost to you financially. Here's the cost to you, and going, I'm not sure that embracing it is going to be worth the cost that you're having to pay in the moment, and throwing that out there for them to consider, because sometimes there are some things we do need to let go and not embrace. At least that's my thinking on that.
yeah, I think in a lot of ways we we don't talk about this in this language a lot on the podcast, but that's what coaching is, right? I to be quite honest, I'm incredibly stubborn. I went into coaching because I hate to be told what to do, right? So I'm like, wait, you mean I can help people make good decisions by asking them questions? And so I wonder if in that stubborn point, at the risk of opening an old wound, TQ, my guess is if somebody walked up to you when you were dating your wife and were like, you're just being stubborn, man, let her go. Mm-hmm. Go find somebody else. Go find somebody who will accept you for you. You'd have been like, go jump off a bridge, right? You're not going to listen to that.
Yeah.
But if somebody comes up and asks, hey, if you're going to face this challenge, what's going to be the win if it goes well? And what's the cost if it goes wrong? And just leave it at that. You get a chance to decide how you're going to navigate that space.
Right.
And I didn't tell you what to do. I didn't tell you you're stubborn. I didn't tell you you're not stubborn. I gave you a space to figure it out on your own. So I think I just wonder, like, my new mantra since I've gone into this job, stop making statements and start asking questions.
Right.
And people we might actually see more change in all of our lives, including ours, if we lead with questions instead of statements.
Yeah, that's good. I got so many more questions I would love for us to go through that we don't have time for, which is awesome. I feel like we've gotten a lot of great things. I'm going to ask this one question. The question is, for someone listening right now who's staring down something hard, what's one real thing that helped you move ahead instead of away from it? Or what is one thing that you would just love for people who are listening to go away with? If they didn't hear anything else, those are the options.
If you missed everything else, I'll come back to those two questions I just asked. If you face this trial or this struggle or this challenge and you make it through, what's gained on the other side? And if you choose to run away, what's lost? And because we're not supposed to come to clean answers, that's the tension we live in, right?
Awesome. Ericka, what do you got?
First of all, Jason, that's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Really, I have a very short answer to your question, TQ, and get help, whether that be coaching, therapy, get professional help. And it's okay to do so.
Yeah, awesome. So those of you out there who are listening, one, thank you for doing that. Really, really appreciate you hanging out with our conversations that who knows where they're going half the time, seriously. And that's part of the reason why we do this, because we try to keep these conversations very fresh and real and authentic. If you watch any of our other stuff, you will see that they're very real conversations. And so if you're facing some sort of challenge or you're prepping for that, every challenge is not something that you need to go into. Wise counsel, help, something like that, like Ericka said, is important. As Jason, our community guru, says, you don't have to do it alone. And I will say that when you go through challenges, if you're able to get through them, you don't just get the win of whatever the challenge was. There's some things that grow in you that are really important and really good for you. And so we are hoping that as you face these challenges and so forth, you come away gaining all the best from them.
I came away today hearing I'm a beautiful guru. I'm just saying, I'm going to let... Thanks, everybody.
A beautiful guru that also likes self-care.
That's right.
Anyhow, folks, man, thank you for checking us out on Beyond the Questions. We're a bunch of coaches who'd really love to help you. We talked a whole lot about what we do already. So if that resonates with you, check out our stuff. It's all in the description. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe so you don't miss any of Beyond the Questions in the future. Thanks for hanging with us. Y'all take care. Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Questions. Be sure to subscribe so that you can stay up to date concerning future episodes. And if you would like to connect with any of the hosts on Beyond the Questions, their contact info is linked in the description below. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next episode of Beyond the Questions.